Does it feel like your opponent dominates the point every single time that they come to the net? Well, in today's video, I'm going to teach you how to outsmart your opponent and hit the perfect passing shot. Now, for recreational players, it's very, very common to see that when a player is approaching the net, they approach straight down the middle of the court, so straight into the center of the net. And now this is not the optimal way to approach the net. You'll see if you watch advanced players or pro players, when they approach the net, they will generally approach to slightly off center. So either slightly more to the right or slightly more to the left, because advanced players will approach the net into the side that they've just played their last shot into. So say if I had a forehand short ball and I hit my approach shot down the line into my opponent's backhand side, I would then need to approach the net slightly to the right of centre. Whereas if I were to have hit that ball cross court, then I would follow into the net slightly to the left of the centre mark. And so you might wonder why this is. Well, the geometry of a tennis court actually plays a huge factor in where you should approach. So understanding the bisector of angles as a tennis player is super, super important because it will help you to play a more effective shot selection. So when your opponent is at the net, their positioning cuts the court into two angles, one leading cross court and one leading down the line. The bisector is the line that splits these angles evenly and represents the angles that they can cover most effectively. However, many recreational tennis players don't know this, and therefore many recreational tennis players always follow into the net, into the center of the net. And so this information that I'm giving you now is really, really important, and it might give you an edge when you're playing your next match and your opponent comes to the net. So if your opponent does come to the net into the center of the court, then hitting the ball down the line is the best option. And this is because hitting the ball down the line means they've got more space to cover on that down the line side. Whereas with the cross court side, if I hit my passing shot cross court and they were standing in the center of the court at the net, then they would have a lot less space to cover that volley. If your opponent is smart enough and they're experienced enough to know that they need to cover the line, then you have two different options that you can take. The first one is to try and aim the ball low, is to try and dip the ball low to their feet. And this is because hitting the ball down low to their feet is a really, really tough volley to hit. I'm sure you guys have all tried to hit a low volley that's dipped down to your feet. It's really hard to kind of pick it up and get it over the height of the net. So this is a really, really challenging shot. And it might not work, it might not be a passing shot, but it will put your opponent under more pressure and you might be able to force an error off of your opponent. So in order to execute this shorter dipping ball into the opponent's feet, you need to ensure that you're hitting with a lot of topspin, so brushing up the back of the ball and hitting that ball with some height over the net so that it dips down low. So you want to have really fast racket head speed and topspin to really dip that ball over and into their feet. This is because most recreational players, again, will not know to get low to the ball and bend with their knees and get under the ball and open up their racket head to these lower volleys. Most recreational players will likely bend from their back and also not open their racket head enough or have the racket control and racket head feel to pick that ball up. And if you choose this option, it's probably the smarter thing to do to hit into your opponent's weaker side. Most likely it will be the backhand volley that is weaker for your opponent. So the second option that you have, if your opponent is smarter and knows to cover the line when they're at the net, then you have another option, which is to lob the ball over your opponent's head. And again, the lob is quite a risky shot because if it's not executed perfectly, then you set up an easy smash for your opponent. And I would really recommend, guys, if you're inside the baseline, don't hit a lob. If you're inside the baseline, either go for that passing shot down the line or dip it down to their feet. If you're back behind the baseline, say if your opponent's hit quite a heavy topspin ball and you're a few meters behind the baseline, that's a great time to hit the lob, because if you're further back in the court, you'll have more space and more margin for error to hit that lob. There's obviously some key factors affecting whether you should try and hit a lob to your opponent or not. The first factor is your opponent's height. Obviously, if they're a tall player, then hitting a lob might not be a good option for you. Secondly, if you know that they're good at serving, if they're good at smashing, then this might not be a good option either. But if you're in doubt, I would always recommend going over your opponent's backhand side. If you're lobbing over their backhand side, that means that they have to move around and try and get their footwork and positioning into a place where they can hit that smash with their forehand side instead of hitting a backhand smash like that, which is very uncomfortable. Guys, another key tip for the lob is to not let your racket head speed slow down and to try and guide the ball up high. What you want to do is really have a quick racket head and increase your racket head speed to really get a heavy topspin ball, to have that height over the net and to allow the ball to dip down into the baseline. So I see it so often that players try and guide the ball like this up, and that sets up the perfect lob for your opponent. So make sure to be brave and to increase the racket head speed so that you get enough topspin to have the height and also the dip to hit a perfect lob. So guys, that's all for this video. I hope you found it really useful, and if you did, then please give this video a like and also subscribe to my channel for more videos like this one to come. And guys, I'll see you in my next video.